Hello, everybody.
Hi,
Welcome to.
Sonia.
Hi, Themba.
Hi.
Welcome to this first episode of a program that GJESS has launched, conversations with editors-in-chiefs and scholars working in the academic publishing. Today we have with us Nomathemba Themba, and we're going to speak about the journey she has been through from the idea stage to implementation, launching the global journey of, the global journal of environmental sciences and sustainability. I wonder if we should give another couple of minutes for the late joiners. But I think in the meanwhile, maybe we can start introducing ourselves because before we start with the questions, Themba, what do you think?
Yeah, great. We can start with the introduction in the meantime.
Yeah, Gladys, will you start, please?
Oh. Hi, everyone. My name is Nomathemba Themba. I serve as an editor-in-chief of a new journal called the Global Journal of Environmental and Sustainability Sciences, which is newly launched academic journal based in South Africa in Johannesburg. I hold a PhD in environmental science, and I have a strong academic and professional background in lecturing safety and environmental studies. And I also currently serve on the advisory board of an institution of higher learning, Vaal University of Technology. And I also hold non-executive position for various private equity firms where I contribute on strategic oversight, ESG, risk, governance, and sustainability. And I'm happy to be here today.
Wonderful. Thank you, Nomathemba. I just realized that I misspelled the name of your journal. I'm so sorry. I basically
No, not a problem.
yeah, sustainability and sciences.
Not a
Sorry
problem.
for that. Okay, Silvano here, Silvano Bonfatti. I am GJESS product manager. I do not hold a PhD, unfortunately, and but I'm kind of, if I should define myself, I would say I'm sort of a technologist. I have around 15 years experience with information technology across a variety of industries, and since late 2022, I am running GJESS, the Journal Article and Management System, which is a submission and peer review platform with production services that MDPI has built and runs. And yeah, and today I'm here with Themba. May I call you Themba?
Sure.
Thank you. And we're gonna talk about the global journal, let me get it right, of environmental and sustainability sciences.
Yes, yes.
All right. And the first question I have for you, Themba, is about inspiration, because many times, our big undertakings begin with like a light bulb moment. So what was your inspiration, and how do you actually got inspired to launch your journal?
It was actually through a combination of frustration and also hope. Frustration in how many groundbreaking research, especially from Africa, never got to find a platform that valued their context and voice. And also hope in a sense that I had the power of knowledge sharing to transform lives and also policies. As someone who had benefited previously from opportunities that were made available through education and research, I wanted to create a platform that will open similar doors for other people, especially the emerging researchers, your practitioners who are tackling climate change issues, water scarcity, public health, and other pressing environmental matter on the continent. So that's what it really inspired me, was to
Yeah.
create a change in academic publishing.
Yeah, absolutely. especially in a region of the world like Africa. These are
Yes,
really, really
because what,
critical themes.
sorry to cut you, what I found while I was doing my PhD was every time you submit your research in these more established journals, you sometimes just get a desktop rejection, not because of the quality of the research that you've done, but for the mere fact on where the authors are coming from. You may not have the similar experience, but we researchers from Africa, we really struggle a lot just to find a platform that will appreciate our work.
I see.
Yeah.
I see it. And so if this was the inspiration, then when, did it crystallize in a way that made you realize, yeah, it's the right time to take action? Because it's like about winning a certain inertia. I have a lot of ideas and aspirations in that
Mm.
sit in the drawer, and I don't know if I ever summon the courage and all the effort that will make it, will make me actually start doing something. So how did it work for you to win this inertia?
For me, the turning point was during my final year of PhD. At that point, I had already published extensively. I had 7 publications just for my um, research project on my PhD, and I think about 3 for my masters, and the rest from other collaborations that I'd done with other researchers before. So that's where the turning point was, because I had published and I had peer reviewed for a dozen of other academic journals, but I kept asking myself, what more can I do? What can I do to make the academic publishing reflect priorities, especially for those underrepresented regions? So that's where the reflection, along with encouragement from the colleagues and the partners who believed in the vision that I have, moved from the idea to aspiration to implementation. So just normal conversations began to be more like strategic sessions, and we began to lay a foundation for what is known today as GJESS. That's how we abbreviate ourselves, GJESS. Yeah.
Guess, okay. Because
That's
also
the
like the
piece.
acronym of
Yes.
GJESS, it's not smooth to, so guess is cool. I like it. I
Yeah.
subscribe to it. And did the papers that you published or that you peer reviewed over your PhD period, did they contribute also to, to the realization that it was time to create a new journal? Uh, did you wish that some of these papers had a new home with the guests?
Definitely. I reached a point where I was like longing and I was waiting for this journal to ask me to peer review their articles, because for me, it was also a learning curve. I had never
Mm-hmm.
worked for an academic journal before. So the only experience I can get is to review and see how the quality process flow. So it really encouraged me a lot to see, okay, sure, I can do this thing by myself, because now I'm doing it for other journals. I can one day do this for my own journal.
Yeah. Wow. If you've peer reviewed dozens of articles, yeah, there's a lot to learn doing so. So you
Yes.
see patterns that keep repeating or mistakes that, you can avoid doing. Lovely. And how
True.
about the name? This guess. How, I mean, uh, is this, how did you choose these words? And I guess you're happy with it, right? Because it must reflect the scope and the
Definitely.
mission of your journal.
Well, the name Global Journal of Environmental and Sustainability Science, it was chosen intentionally. It reflects both our geographic inclusivity and also our thematic commitment on environmental resilience and sustainability development. The word alone, global, it acknowledges our promotion to cross-continental collaborations, even though our roots are firmly African. But our aim is to go global and interact with different collaborators from all over the world. And our mission is to amplify high quality evidence based research that can inform policies and practices in academic disclosure and sustainability. So that's what actually informed us into choosing the name. And I'm not working by myself. I'm not going to take that glory. I have a team of, a team of people who are also assisting me in this.
Yeah, but these people, they were not with you at the inception phase of the journal,
True.
right? Because, you know, usually I am very much into the startup world. It fascinates me a lot, not only in academic publishing, actually across the board. You know, people who decide, okay, now I stop my 9 to 5 job and I launch a company. And usually, many times it's a pair, like it's two people that are
Right.
co-founders. However,
Right.
in the scholarly publishing, in this, over the past 2 years, I've seen a few new journals, and usually it's one editor-in-chief, one founder. So it's very much a single venture. Is this the case also for you? And if yes, then how did you find the team that is now your team of trusty people that assist you with the GJESS?
Well, I may have a team today, but I started alone. I started from scratch with absolutely nothing. I had to build everything from scratch, from identifying the scholars suitable for editorial board to establishing partnership for infrastructure and system support. I leaned heavily on the relationship that I had curated throughout my academic journey and reaching out to peers and mentors and former collaborators who understood the vision that I had. It wasn't easy, Silvano. It was a challenge, but it was also a very rewarding experience as it curated a diverse and committed team that we have today that shares the same passion of elevating unheard voices in environmental research. So, in a nutshell, yes, I started by myself, but along the way, you get to form your team that shares the same vision with you.
Of course. Yeah, this resonates a lot.
Mm,
Like the most important thing is that you're aligned on the mission. So
yes,
it's gonna have like it's better to have uh, just a few true believers than a more sizable team, but people are not as committed to the cause. I
true.
think.
Especially at first when there's not much of financial reward. So it's not
Indeed,
easy
yeah,
to attract role
yeah.
players on the team.
You cannot just buy them or offer them financial incentives. That makes things even more difficult. And how did you go about funding, by the way? Because you're talking now about economic incentives. Of course, this makes launching any new any new venture, but a
Mm.
scholarly journal just alike easier. Did you have any access to funding?
No, I wish I had. So funding remains an ongoing challenge because as a new established journal, you still have a lot to prove. And unfortunately, the organization who are responsible for funding research, they would want you to fund you, sorry, once you achieve a certain point in life, once you are indexed with Scopus, once you are indexed with ResearchGate. Unfortunately, for a newly established journal, you don't get those things overnight because for you to be indexed with Scopus, there are requirements. You must have been in the industry for a certain number of years. You must have
Yeah,
published so many articles before they can actually consider taking your application. So it's still an ongoing issue, but one day at a time. We do get people sponsoring here and there. However, I cannot say today that the journal is self-sustainable. So
yeah, of course.
it's still in the teething phases.
Yeah,
Yeah.
indeed. So limited resources, I guess, right? Because if funding is, if access to funding is limited, this means also you have to do more with less and
Yes.
kind of be frugal. And
Mm,
so one thing that you mentioned that is on the same kind of wavelength is people aligned with your mission, they are going to cooperate, they are going to give their best, even if there are no financial incentives. But how about, your personal, how did you balance this? Like, did you stop your previous engagements to fully dedicate yourself to the GJESS from day one?
No, I did not. However, partnering with GEMS, and I'm not saying this just to buy your face, it significantly eased the workload, especially the administrative burden, because as a founder and an editor in chief, there was a lot on the table for me because I found myself battling from just marketing to troubleshooting to working behind the scene of the journal. So having a partner like GJESS made a difference in our lives because they provided a system that would be able to track from submission to reviewers management to making that digital system accessible and centralized created a lot of difference for us because then it made things more efficient and less overwhelming. It provided a workflow that was better coordinated. We didn't have to start everything from scratch because we had templates that were already designed for us. So the only thing that was needed was just for us to personalize it and it's just a bit of a personal touch so that it's suitable for our journal. So as much as the work was overwhelming, it helped to have a partner that was also supportive and providing the system that was efficient for us.
That's good to hear. That's exactly the value that we hope to bring to newly established publishers in the scholarly space. Shall we talk about the challenges that you have met? Because so far it's like, okay, you start your adventure and you have a lot of hope, I guess, and you want to change the world. And then I guess, as in all ventures, then you start hitting hurdles and roadblocks and headwinds. So typically for a scholarly journal, there's a visibility challenge. There is also discoverability challenge, at least in the short term. And then in the long-term game of reputation. I'm interested in knowing what's your strategy and the tactics to go about these big three challenges.
Well, indeed, those three are a holy trinity of challenges in academic publishing. For visibility, we lean towards digital engagement from start, from creating your LinkedIn page, your Facebook, your WhatsApp. And we are currently planning into expanding to podcasting, spotlighting our authors and their research topic, and just to add a human voice on the scholarly content. On the scholarly content, we want to ensure that the work that is published doesn't just sit in idly in the repository, but we actively promote it through these podcasts so that we make sure that it's not only visible, but it is also cited and engaged. For discoverability, before we even launched the journal, we initiated the process of obtaining your ISSN number and your DOI numbers to formalize our presence and into improving our traceability. And that's where the partnering with GEMS also came in because they also it helped us into a long-term scalability and credibility. And we are currently looking towards inclusion with major academic databases such as Scopus, like I mentioned earlier, Scopus, your ResearchGate, and your Web of Science, just to further expand our reach and ensure that our work is easily discoverable, because there's no point in you publishing if no one is going to read about your work, if no one is citing your work, if no one is downloading your work. And for reputation, that is very key, especially for a newly established journal. And unfortunately, reputation is not built overnight. you build it article by article. So what we've
Yeah.
done was just to focus on maintaining a vigorous peer review and curating a respected editorial board, and also ensuring that our each and every manuscript that we publish, it reflects our mission and our value. Though we are still young, but we are committed to integrity of and academic excellence, and that is already being noticed in the industry.
This makes so much sense, Themba. And so about there's one question I have about uh, the dissemination part, which is, the journals do not act in silos, and then all the outputs of journals should then be findable and discoverable uh, as quickly as possible and in the
Yes.
in as easy way as possible. So what are the things that you already did? um, I think, for example, of digital object identification, DOI, or maybe the directory of open access journals, since the GJESS is in open access
Yes.
journals, versus the things that you cannot actually do now because
Mm.
you need to respect and some prerequisites, like, for example, joining indexes like Scopus of Web of Science. So what's a bit high level plan of the things that you have already done in this regard versus the things that you plan to do? This is also in case there are other wannabe editors in chief in the audience, or people that are running a journal just like you, and might draw from your experience.
Right. The main issue, the first one to do is to just make sure that you register for your ISSN number, and also your DOI numbers. Those are the basics one, because each and every article that you publish, it needs to have a specific DOI number. That's where the discoverability then comes in. Then, when it comes to indexing, as I've mentioned earlier, you cannot register your statute journal today and tomorrow you are already part of Scopus. You need to have been publishing for 3 years. You need to have covered different scope of work. You need to have published not only from Africa, but they need to see you that your impact is not only regional based, but you impact all over globally, all over the world. So that you have to build in as you go. But the basics one is just register with the Director of Open Access, which we've already done.
Cool. And as far as the dissemination and through a digital object identifier, with which entity do you go? Is it Crossref or any other,
Yes,
some
we, we,
other?
we registered we registered with Crossref,
So the GJESS is a member of
a
Crossref, right?
member of Crossrefs. Yes.
Cool. Thank you. And then there was another thing in the previous answer you gave, which is about the editorial board, which is key to the success of a scholarly journal. And I was wondering, um, and it might be a question that it will sound like everybody knows the answer, but was it difficult to build this editorial board? How
Oh,
long did it take, and how did you go about it?
to be honest, I think I underestimated that
Mm,
a lot of people were going to ignore you. You would need to send 4 or 5 emails before you get a response from Professor so and so from this particular institution of learning. So it takes time. You're not going to get your full team in 1 month, in 2 months. I think just to build an editorial team just alone, it took me more than 6 months to build
wow.
it. And even some of them still said, oh, we only going to be available for 6 months. And after that, find yourself more permanent people to deal with. It's not an easy task, just like any other business. So for you to get
True.
people who would share the same mission and vision with you, you will have to knock into so many doors. From every 100 door that you knock into, only 10 will probably open. And from that 10, maybe 4 will agree, and the other 6 will say, I'm overcommitted. I have a conflict of interest. Unfortunately, I'm not available. It's not an easy task, but it's doable.
Yeah. Wow, 6 months. And you said now how many editorial board members? I see there are quite a few,
I
right?
think initially we started with 20, and then two of them had to leave due to conflict of interest. So now we are left with 18. From the 18, I'm expecting four of them to resign by end of the year. So we
I see.
already started looking for the replacement. So if anyone who's interested in becoming an editorial, in serving in our editorial, please just drop us an email and send us
Go
your
for
CV.
it. Feel free to put any plugs to the guests
Yes, yes.
as we go. That's absolutely fine. All right. And so far, you started this venture some time ago, and I was wondering, has there been already a rewarding moment? So despite all the hardships that you've gone through, but has there been a moment where you said, "Hey, it's worth it. We are actually making an impact, and I'm happy I started it, and we are on
Mm,
the right track." Uh, this is usually the most positive moment of this conversation. So, is there
right.
an episode, and can you tell us an anecdote about it?
Absolutely. When you start a journal, most people will expect that your groundbreaking moment would be on the financial reward part of it. But it's not for us, because the reason this journal was launched was not necessarily to make profit out of it, but to create an impact. So the moment that affirmed us that we were on the right path was when we started getting contacted by different scholars from different institutions. Some of us were just asking for barely general inquiries, but some of us were like thanking us for launching the journal, appreciating that finally there is a platform that valued their context. And that reminded us why the journal exists. It exists to create access, to amplify impact, to bring global attention to often overlooked regions. And another moment was when our social media started to get traction, because now we weren't only talking to academics, we are now talking to NGOs, to government agencies. So that kind of cross-sectional engagement for us was a rewarding moment, because we are moving from academias to starting to informed broader conversation. And I shared with you just before we start that we just last week we received an invitation from United Nations to attend the Sustainability Development Summit that is hosted, that is to take place in London, end of July. I mean, it was a big moment for me, because I was like, "Oh my God, I didn't even aware that that United Nations knows about me, let alone about the small journal that I've created." So it got to a point where I realized that as much as we are, but we are clearly making a global impact, because they know about us. So I'm looking forward to attending and seeing
That's a
what
big
other
one.
opportunities that will be opened through this intervention. So yeah, that's just one
Uh,
of our big moments for me to say. I may not have come today and say, here is a million check, which was never what we were intended for. But I know for sure that as small as we are, but we're already making an impact out there.
Congratulations, Themba.
Thank
It's a
you.
invitation from the UN. It's a big stage. It's a big opportunity. Very, very much deserved. So kudos to you and the team that helped you get this visibility at this important level. There is one
Thank you.
thing that piqued my attention in the word, what you just said. There is, the mission of the GJESS is not just to talk to academia, but to go beyond the boundaries of
Yes.
academia, inform, policymakers, subject
Mm,
matter experts, become a global, discourse and
yes.
practice, which is so important because I'm kind of still relatively new to publishing. before 2023, I was doing something completely different. And I thought that academic journals were mostly for academia, like for researchers. However, this is, being brought also to the attention of non-academic people. And
Yes.
there are two things that I noticed, that just because it's anecdotes that I think they are interesting. In the circle of friends, people that are absolutely not working in academia, and they share papers with me about so and so, this or that topic. And in the AI tools that are out there, especially the search engines that are supported by AI, there is some filters applicable, and one of the filter is search through academic papers. So this is kind of being democratized in a way that any people running ChatGPT like tools, they can specifically go and sift the knowledge available out there with academic people. So you're going to reach ordinary people like this, and this makes your work even so much more important and vital,
Yes.
I guess. And yeah, I think it's do we have questions, by the way? I was wondering, because I would like to leave some time for questions at the end. Something I wish to ask you, Themba, that it's to me it's a paramount question, is why would an author submit their work to the GJESS, and why it is important that authors out there, they do not only look to publish their work with the big publishers, the mainstream publishing houses. So eventually where I'm heading is why it is important to have a diversified scholarly publishing ecosystem, in your opinion.
Okay. First of all, with small and independent journal, you get to interact with the authors more on a personal level. We never issue a desk rejection without giving a formal report. With more established journal, it's a desk rejection because it doesn't meet the scope of the journal. But
Yeah.
when it comes to us, we know that it does meet our scope. It's just that maybe the quality needs to be enhanced a bit. So, what we usually do is instead of just saying no, the editors will then give you a full report that will take you from your abstract to introduction, material and method, discussion, and result down to your references, reviewing as if it was done by external reviewers. We still review your article in full and give you a full report to say if you can fix all these things, then we will be able to accept your journal for submission.
Uh-huh.
So in that way, we don't just take submission, we don't just process papers, we mentor, we guide, we walk along our authors, especially the emerging researchers, because there is no school where you are being taught on how to write an article. So people who are supposed to be doing that are the journals. But unfortunately, for well-established journals, there's money involved. They don't have time because they have hundreds of manuscripts to go through. So that's when then it becomes more crucial for you to go with a smaller and independent journal, because we will then be able to guide you until your manuscript is published. Yes, sometimes we do get the level of quality sometimes is overwhelming, because you literally can get an author that gives you 4 pages, and
Yeah.
that is supposed to be an original research, but you can't say, hey, why this? You need to be able to guide, to say you didn't give this, you didn't give that, there is no methodology, your research, your introduction doesn't link to the abstract, your abstract, it doesn't link to the introduction. You guide them fully as if you were a teacher at school teaching them how to write manuscript. So that's how you benefit by going with independent journals like GJESS.
This is astounding, like this level of mentorship for
Yeah.
authors. So they might fail the first couple of times and then
Yes.
successfully have a paper accepted and published
Yes.
thanks to this guidance, right? So
True.
this is absolutely awesome.
And it's
Um,
also time consuming for us, yes. However, what matters at the end is the impact that we've created. We've taught an author from Ethiopia how to write a manuscript. One day, those people would come back and they'll submit more manuscripts to us because they know that we guide, we give you time, we walk along with you other than just rejecting you from the get go.
yeah, amazing. We have a
Thank
question
you.
from the audience, kind of
All right.
linked to this about authorship. Um,
Right.
so it's asking another question that everybody knows the answer. Was it difficult to attract authors at the beginning? And how did you approach getting your first submissions?
We had to go as far as doing a free article publishing fee. We had to take that out to be able to
Mm,
attract more people to come in because sometimes people are not able to publish their work because they don't have resources. So that's
yeah.
how we get to receive our first batch of manuscript by scraping out the publishing fee. And we ended up reducing it also to so that it's more affordable for researchers who don't have much resources because some of them they're publishing by themselves. They're not backed up by their universities and so forth.
All right. Yeah. That for sure must have helped. Um,
It did.
so is this something also that you recommend to other small independent journals out there to consider, like waivers for APCs for it in a case by case, right? So
In a
if
case by
there are,
case. Yes,
yeah.
I do encourage that. However, these pros and cons. You will get everything from high quality to absolutely nothing. Just because
Mm,
they think it's for free, then they think you're gonna
mm,
take any quality and just publish it. So just be
mm.
ready to invest more time into improving the quality of the manuscript before it actually meets the standard that it's acceptable for publication.
Yeah, cool. That's very
Yeah.
sensible. Um, will you speak a bit about the like for fast forward in a few years from now? We talked already about your aspirations to get indexed in the measure database, which give uh, more authority for sure to the GJESS. But beyond that, and besides that, how do you see the GJESS evolving in 3 to 5 years from now? Um, what's your vision?
Besides indexing, we also working towards securing a modest but meaningful impact factor, ideally in the range of say 1.1 to 2.5 in the first 2 years post indexing. That will also help because when we index, we want to see the impact that we are making out there. So that's when the citation becomes more critical because you want people to cite your work. You want people to
Yeah.
talk about your work. You want people to apply it. So we are working towards that. And this is not only about prestige, but rather to signal a real world relevance and quality of the work that we are publishing. And beyond that, we're also focusing on expanding our global contributor base. We started
Mm-hmm.
focusing on environmental and management and science. We're looking more into more emerging sustainability themes like your green finance, your economy, your circular economy, and indigenous ecological knowledge. So those are the part of things that are sitting at the back of our minds that say, once we establish this, obviously you have to run a journal like you were running in a business where you've got your short-term and your long-term goals. So we would like to see our our audience expanding not only from Africa, but to Asia, to Latin America, to Middle East. Middle East may be a sensitive topic today because of what is happening there, but they still
Yeah.
remain part of what we would, people that would like to collaborate with in the near future. We would like to include your video abstract, your infographics into our publishing, just to make our work more discoverable and more engaging with the scholarly community.
Wow. Yeah. I wish you this success for you and for the guests, for sure.
Thank you. We really
That's
appreciate
super
that.
interesting.
Yeah.
In particular, what struck me is when you mentioned local indigenous knowledge
Mm,
about the ecology and about specificities of their land, their context. This is it's something that I don't read about every second week. So
yeah.
it's very, very important that these topics have an appropriate home and
Mm.
hub. And yeah, hopefully this can be the case.
And just to add also something, Sylvana, one thing, uh, media consumption has changed from as the technology advances, so as the consumption. So it has
Hmm.
changed from people reading. People no longer read newspapers. People are
Yeah,
now
true. I
into
don't read newspapers.
videos.
Yeah,
True, because there's other means of
yeah.
consuming the news through TikTok, through videos, and all that.
Some
So the
apps. Yeah,
academic publishing is also slowly moving towards that direction because people are not going to be printing paper articles just to read. They would want to have an easier way of finding your research. So if you make a video abstract, then they go on TikTok, and instead of just being on TikTok just to consume news and just nothing, then they're studying why they're on TikTok because they can find your videos there. So that's the direction where we are leaning towards. We have to move with technology, unfortunately.
yeah. No, that's such a fascinating part. This is what I love about it, honestly. And I totally see your point, also because
Yeah.
um, the the researchers and the scholars of tomorrow are the kids today, and
Yes.
they're gonna grow with even more than us with these new means of consumption
True. Mm.
and with rapidly um, evolving technology like artificial intelligence and that will
Yes.
summarize stuff for them and yeah, just maybe sometimes also spoon feed them. Uh, I hope not, but let's see. I have no crystal ball, but there are some potential challenges there. Cool. I was keeping an eye on any incoming questions. I don't see any. There was that one we replied already earlier. Um, so in the meanwhile, there is like the final question, which is also maybe the most important because it's about a piece of advice that you would like to give somebody like you that might be on the verge of um, making this step like you
Mm.
did, or somebody that has done this step, or somebody that maybe thinks someday of doing something like you did. So typically, what's something that you would advise to people that are thinking about this project, a mistake that they might maybe avoid, a pitfall, a word of encouragement?
I would say, just like any business, your biggest supporters won't always be your colleagues, your friends, and your peers. They will often be strangers who would see your value before those who are closest to you do see the value. I would say to them, validation doesn't always come from familiar places. So they must always just remember that when the peers and the colleagues stay silent, that's not because it's a reflection of your worth. It's not. You must just keep going, you must keep focused, stay visible, and keep showing up for the mission of your business. Because every meaningful business, every successful journal started with just a belief. And sometimes, for a while, it will only be just your own belief, and nobody else will be supporting your mission. But keep going. Let the strangers cheer for you. Let the work speak for itself. Because remember, support is earned. And oftentimes it comes through consistency and not popularity. I'm still not popular today, but I can assure you I'm consistent.
Yeah,
So
this is
if you want to
absolutely,
start a
yeah,
journal, it's not going to be easy. It's going to be challenging. You are There's points in your life where you would want to give up. Don't.
don't.
Ask for help. Ask for help. There's people like me, there's other editors that I've reached out to where I was stuck. Get support, but out of all, make sure that you partner with a good publishing company because you are as strong as they are. Because when you lack direction, those are the people who will you will be drawing your strength from. So it's not easy, but it's doable. Here I am, a living testimony.
Here you are. So inspirational.
Yeah.
Thank you, Themba. There is a comment in the thread of the webinar. It starts by thanking you for sharing your story, and then moves on saying, although it becomes the responsibility of journal editors, it should be the responsibility of the higher education institution and supervisors to train early career researchers in writing journal articles. That was a comment, not a question.
Yep.
Which I feel, yeah, I can subscribe to it. Yeah.
No, he's right. He's right. If the supervisors are supportive, we wouldn't have emerging researchers struggling with the quality of research. But most of the time, the researchers are just left there by themselves to find their way. Because what I found in my personal journey was they would say, no one helped me during my time. Therefore, it means you must also find your own way. So, if we were to teach these things from master's level on how to write academic journals, and I'm not saying that all institutions are like that. There are institutions who are very supportive, who provide resources. And then there are those ones that do want to provide resources, however, they maybe not have resources. But if we were to get a higher education teaching these things, we wouldn't be struggling with quality as the journals.
Yeah, I like it. So on paper, this comment is totally right, but then there are cases where
Yes,
reality hits, and
reality
yeah,
is, and you're all by yourself.
I see. We have one final question. If
Right.
you could change one thing about how you began developing your journal, what would this thing be?
I wouldn't wait until I had all my ducks in a row because I had a plan and I waited for a while because I thought that I needed to have everything before I start. So if I were to go back and change, the minute I conceive the idea, I would start looking for a publishing company almost immediately because that's where you get your guidance the most. With me, I waited until I had almost everything before I reached out to publishing firms. And I realized that, oh, they could have assisted with one, two, three because they are more well equipped and more experienced than I am. So I wouldn't wait until everything. I'll just jump in and
Yeah,
start swimming immediately.
yeah, absolutely. Again,
Yeah.
it resonates a lot. Super important advice. I think, yeah, we have no other question, but it's fine. And I want to thank you, Themba, because this was a tremendous conversation. And I personally learned a lot of things about you, about the GJESS, and about the work of an editor-in-chief of a small and independent journals. And yeah, I hope we'll have other opportunities to get in touch publicly.
Actually.
And I wish you success for you and for the GJESS in the future.
Thank you very much. I'll give you guys a feedback on how the summit went. So, and thank you for
Please,
giving me this opportunity. I appreciate it a lot.
you're welcome. Thank you,
Yeah.
everybody who attended this webinar. We are closing it. Have a nice rest of the day. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.